One ring to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them. Ashnash Rurbartruk, Ashnash Grimpatu. Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is yet another Lord of the Rings game, and yes, it's another app game, and yes, it is from Fancy Flight Games, and yeah, it's actually called Lord of the Rings. However, Journeys in Middle-earth, which leads to something else maybe. It's not about the Lord of the Rings, but there's something else involved. So yeah, this is yet another app-driven game from Fancy Flight Games. And again, the app just tells you what's going to happen, like the map setup and which monsters appears and how they act, and of course what you can find on the map. Whatever there is of physical components, what you do with the cards, which skills you have ready, where the enemies are now, what damage you have, the app has no clue, and that's the way I like it. But Fancy Flight Games have come out with several now apps. They have the Descent app that they made after Descent, and Imperial Assault, which they also made after the main game. And then they made Mansion of Madness 2nd Edition, where the app was the focus. And now they have Journeys in Middle-earth, where the app is also the focus. So the question is this a better way? Have they really improved upon the formula that they already have? Or have they just taken the shortcut and made a quick bucks by plastering on Lord of the Rings and just throwing out there and getting money for the IP? I might already have spoiled my answer though, by if you look at the components here, but it's so small on the screen, so maybe not. But let's try and find out, okay? So hello and welcome to The Northman. I will say it many times, it's an app-driven game. And for me, board games is a lot about the physical components of the game. I like to have it in my hands and to look at the cards, study them, roll the dice physically, not just pressing a button. And yeah, but then again, the app doesn't know about the deck here. They know the contents, but never know what's in the deck, in what order, and what I choose and what not. I just tell the app the result. And the result might be from many different factors that the app has no clue. It doesn't care about this. That's our job to manage. And this part I really love. So does the app really retract from the experience? Because board games to me is having the physical components for one, and the sensation of touching stuff and just feeling the tactile nature of anything. And also the social element, where you can look the other players in the eyes and you create this immersion and just mood that is different in a video game. And you can't play this online either, unless you do some real magic stuff, and it's possible, I guess, but no, too much effort. But the question is though, is Journeys in Middle-earth a great contender in all these app-driven games from the same company even? So I will tell you about this game, and it's two game modes. One mode is Journeys, which you see here now with these tiles and a map. You explore, you check out these tokens, you can check out the characters to interact with and explore here. Then there's the battle map, and the battle map is always two tiles. You never explore, you just go around and you talk with people, interact, or combat a lot. Or maybe not at all. So I'll start with the Journeys very briefly, because explaining the game mechanics isn't that interesting actually. This is the Journeys board, the game mode with exploration of the countryside. And you might not see it in the app here, but you can briefly see the silhouette or outline of the map, which is identical. And all these tokens here are also represented in the app. A threat token, a search token, explore token, and a character token or person token. Also, which is not in the app, are the heroes, Legolas and Elena, and the app has no clue where we are. So, the game goes in turns. All the heroes take their turn, and when they're done, it's a shadow phase. And if you played Mansion of Madness, you will recognize the Mythos phase, where all the bad stuff happens. Then again, the heroes go. But in each shadow phase, the threat will increase based on the number of heroes in play, and the number of threat tokens, and the number of explore tokens. And you can see on top here, maybe not, there's a trigger here. When you reach that number, some event will happen, and often bad. And if it goes to the max, which in this case is 64, you will lose the scenario. So you have to do the goal before that happens. And right now the goal is to confront the thieves. And all these tokens represent something, and they are very generic. So if you ever forget what they are, just click on it in the app, like the person token here. They are Brelanders with some strange accents, so they indicate that they might not be who they claim to be. And in the app we get 3 actions to choose from, and we don't know the test involved. Now, each hero gets 2 actions on their turn. One action is to get 2 move points. So one action could be 1, 2. I could go in this tile here. This entire tile has this Explorer token on it. I click the app to explore, confirm, or cancel. I'm not going to do that now. Maybe I want to do the threat token here. I'll do the search, and I have no idea what test to do. And the test is what really drives this game. This deck here, to Legolas, has all kinds of cards in it, and his character sheet has like might and wisdom, agility, spirit, and wit. And the number here is his strength, indicates how many cards I get to draw. So let's say I do a might test, just 1, 2 cards. Here I just ignore on the bottom everything, and on the top is a leaf and a star or sun. The suns are success, and the leaves are partial success, which you can make a success by spending these tokens. And that's it, basically. But the app has no idea what cards you have or how many you draw or anything. You just tell the app. And you can cheat as much as you want, so it's up to us to maintain the rules of the game and just tell the app. In fact, we can just go through everything on the map on the first turn, and the app doesn't care. We can finish the game in 1 turn for whatever the app cares. It's up to us to follow the rules of the game. But the skills, that's where the core of the game lies. So when you have Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, you're expecting this epic tale of hero glory and friendship and kindness and fellowship and everything, all that from the movies and books, right? Well, sorry, you won't get it here. However, you will get a nice narrative story. I will compare this a lot to Mansions of Madness because there are so many similarities. Like in Mansions of Madness, you will meet these monsters. You see some tentacles or misshaped object, biological thing coming up from the ground attacking you, and you just a regular chef or a hairdresser or a butcher, you have no idea what these things are. So of course when you meet them, you try to avoid them as much as possible, and when you fight them, well, whatever works, you know, throw a stick at them or dodge or whatever, you don't know. So when you fight in Mansions of Madness, you have no idea what you're up against. But in Journeys in Middle-earth, it's kind of the same. The monsters, like this, I can't remember the name right, not Brute, but yeah, they're the bandits maybe, and these wraiths, and the warg or hill troll. All of these have everything in common, basically. So when you play this game for the first time, you will face an enemy. And let's say you meet 3 goblins, and they are advanced with this banner, which means they are tougher than normal. But you have no idea what normal is. And you're facing this guy here and this thing here. Which is worst? Well, I don't know. Do you? And the app doesn't tell you. So if you get to decide who to face, which is the one you want to get rid of first, you don't know. You just have to assume it's a big wolf, but he has weapons. Or this guy, he looks really dangerous, right? But is he fast? You don't know. So the app conceals all this information, and that makes all the enemies feel generic. For instance, this wraith here, he has a tendency to put fear in our hearts, but you have no idea about that before you meet him, and he doesn't. But he can get a skill that does add fear, after all. And you don't know the difference between them in the beginning. I have played this game many times now, and I know the difference of these creatures, and they are different. But I wish there would be some kind of overview that tells us the basic stats for these creatures, Because when you go there as Legolas or Aragorn or Gimli, they have great knowledge about these creatures, and they should be able to provide us, the players representing these heroes, with some information. Oh, this guy hits hard, and this guy puts fear in the heart. But how much? Well, they should have kind of an inkling, but they don't. And for me, it was a problem to begin with. It just felt generic. But now I just see the monsters as hindrances. Rarely do you have to have a goal to kill the monsters. They're just there to make it harder for you. So when you go through the forest and you see a patrol of orcs, you can't just go through them and ignore them. You have to face the challenge in some way. Either go around them or try to sneak through or just run through and hope you survive. Those are all valid options at certain times. And I enjoy that fact now, after I played it a while. But back to the story. The writing is not what you will get from like Mansions of Madness, where his story there is essential to the scenarios. You try to find out what really happened here in this house or mansion or whatever is coming out, the jungle now in the next expansion, or this train, and everything is exciting and unknown, and you try to deduce certain things sometimes, and you have to make a choice at certain times and based on what you learned so far. And that is great. You get all this interesting story every time. Here you are represented with Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth, but if you don't really know the lore, you will probably doesn't make any sense to you. When I first played this, I thought, I should just make this a Terranoth, like this Descent and Runebound, and make that universe because I know those creatures. And this felt so generic. But now, after I played this campaign at least twice, from start to finish, I really appreciate the story also, and I understand the grand scope of the grand arc of the story, and I really appreciate this game now more and more the more I play it. So yeah, I really enjoy this game. But as I said, the combat is not essential to the game. Well, it's a lot of that, but what is essential is this deck of cards that you have for each hero. Well, like I said many times, this deck here is really what makes this game awesome. In the beginning, each character, when you create them, you get to add 6 cards to the deck. Those are basic cards and identical to each character or player. Then you add 5 cards from your hero, in this case Legolas. And his cards are unique. There are no other hero in the game that has his 5 cards. There might be one card that goes again, maybe, but his deck is unique. Then you choose a class, and the classes, like this one, is a burglar, and they are unique. You get 3 cards from that class, the basic cards, and as you play, you will get experience points, which you can exchange to other better cards in the class. You always keep the 1, 2, and 3 cards, the basic ones, but you can add and exchange or remove cards from your character based on experience. And also during the game you can change class and still keep the burglar experience cards you got, not the basic ones, but you get to really customize your character based on your preferences. So you can be Legolas the burglar musician, for instance, and have fun with that. I'm not sure I would recommend it though, but you can. You can even have a 3rd class, I think. I'm not sure, never tried that one. But you can do so much things. But, okay, so let's go back to this deck again. You also add a weakness card, which is just a dud. It doesn't do anything. It's just in the way. It looks like this. This is a random, they're all unique artwork. And this is called Watched. You feel watched. So, every round you will get something called Scout, and Scout is a wonderful thing in this game. You can also get Scout from other things based on what skills you have available or items you find, or trinkets it's called in this game. So let's say you get Scout and you get to Scout 2. Then you take 2 cards. Well, first you shuffle the deck every round, then you Scout, take 2 cards, and then you get to look at them and select one of those cards. So they have a Scout 4 maybe, You still only get to select one and prepare as a skill, if you want. And often you want that, because the 4 skills you can have in front of you are very great usually. But the cards have the symbols on them, like success and partial success and just nothing. Not in this case though. But the ones with success, which you want to have on top of your deck, they also tend to have the better skill below here. And you want that in front of you face up, but that means you take this icon here away from the deck this round. And maybe future rounds, unless you don't use it. Choices. But then you can, after you add a skill, you can choose to put the card on top or bottom. So you ignore them. That might come in handy if you have bad cards, but in this case it wasn't bad at all. I want to have the success on top, and I choose the order, of course. That means I know or don't know that I'm going to make a success later on. So having this knowledge about the deck is truly great. And as you play, cards will go into your discard pile, and you can always just look in the discard pile and see, oh, here's 1 success card. That means I have 4 left in my deck, or 3 left based on your customization. So you know that if you do this test, you have a high chance of succeeding, or low chance, or no chance. In Mansion of Madness, you can have like a 6 skill, you roll 6 dice, nothing. You can be as good as you want in Mansions and still get nothing. But here, you know something. You know that, okay, I'm not going to do this test this turn because all my successes are here. So you do something else, something useful, something you know that doesn't require you to take a test and succeed with that certain amount that you need. And that is just great. This is one of the most wonderful things in this game, just to know what is in your deck. And you get this ownership of your deck as well, choosing your skills, and you get to learn the cards in your deck that no other players know, because there's so many cards. And you can also achieve titles in the game, like Legolas the Wind Runner or something, and he gets 1 more card to add in his deck, which gives him 1 unique ability that no one else has. And sometimes you get this scout and like, oh, there's my card! Oh, I've been waiting so long for you. Of course I'm going to... Oh, this card also is great too. Oh no, I get a hard choice suddenly. But it's so great to have that tough decisions just from selecting cards. Whew. Yeah. If anything, this system here it's amazing. It really makes this game terrific in my eyes. Yeah, okay, I might have gone a bit overboard with the enhancement of the components in this game. Anyway, almost everything you see here is not from the game itself. The exception is the plastic figures, the miniatures, and this cardboard here representing the banner or the group. The rest is my own, actually. People on the web has uploaded their models to Thingiverse or other places that are free, and I can grab it and customize it and scale it down to fit this game instead, which I've done. And I've added a collection on Thingiverse as well, where you can grab all these things in one place, if you want to get what I have. And also I made this box, which all these things can fit into, which is also, you have to have the same setup as I have, maybe smaller statues because they were too big to actually fit in the box. But yes, I spent a lot of time researching these tokens, printing them, painting them, and even these boards here are not the real ones. The real ones are cardboard, which actually look very nice, but I just wanted more. And I'm not really sure if I'm happy with the result, but I've spent so much time and energy on these things that I have to use them. So I'm very pleased with them, but of course I'm extremely biased since I've done all this. And by saying that, I should also say that I really love this game because I wouldn't have done this otherwise. Another game I've also done a lot of work on is Gloomhaven. I've just printed and painted tons of stuff for that. I had this entire box with stuff for the game. Stuff that isn't needed, like walls around the map and tents and trees that isn't even represented in the game, just to have it look nice. So yeah, this doesn't compare to Gloomhaven. This is an entirely different game. I will, however, compare this to Mansions of Madness and Descent, and in that case also Imperial Assault, because these are all by the same company and the app has the same function. Oops, sorry, in these games. But still, Mansions of Madness is not a truly great comparison to this game, because they have different purposes. Mansions of Madness allows you to take the game up for a game night. You have guests over or something and just want to play a single game or of something and enjoy yourself. And Mansions of Madness does that great. If you get the core box, I think you get 5 scenarios or something, and it's not very much. You get tired of them very fast, especially the first one, the introduction scenario, which is too easy and too generic. So you actually have 4 left, or 3, I can't remember, because I have so much content to that game as well. But you can just set up the game, play and finish. You don't have to know anything going into the game. You just select a character, it's a chef or a cook, really, a butcher or a butler or sailor, anything you don't really need to know. And you enter a house and explore and discover and reveal and have a lot of fun and try to survive the horror that is Mansions of Madness. In this game, however, you don't get to just take up the game and play it with a group and then put it away. No, this is a campaign game. So it has 13 connected scenarios that you start at the end and you go through this, I don't know the word, but you go through these paths or branches depending on the results on the previous scenarios, and then you end up in the finale. And that's where you know where to win or lose. But each scenario takes quite a while to finish, so you won't finish this in a day. No way. So playing this game, you probably want to have the same group of people playing all the scenarios together to the end. And you can only have 5 of these groups at the same time in the app, which is lackluster. But yeah, I played this game now 2 times, and I'm already on 2 other starts of the campaign, and I still enjoy it a lot. I always try to mix up the characters, even though there's only 5 characters. There's 6 characters in the game, and you can choose up to 5 of them, and also change the classes that you can have for these characters. And it really makes a difference, the classes, and I can't wait until more heroes and more classes are in the future added to the game, just for more variety and more fun, and of course more unbalanced stuff. That's gonna happen. But Journeys in Middle-earth doesn't really compare to Mansions, because it's a campaign game and Mansions is a single scenario game. So if you want just a game to take up in the night or in the evening, Mansions. Otherwise, this. And Descent doesn't really fit either, because that's a board game where they added the app later to replace one of the players. And you can game that app as well by positioning yourself so that the monsters won't move. They fixed that in Imperial Assault, where they always do something to move some way, but yeah, still doesn't really compare. And in Descent you have the dice and the focus on combat. Combat is like really essential in Descent, but here combat is necessary but not essential. You have to deal with this somehow, maybe just stun them or run away or attack, of course, but combat isn't what you want here. You want to search, explore and find out what this coming darkness is, and that is amazing. And yeah, I can highly recommend this game if it is a campaign game you want. And it's 13 scenarios, I think it is, and they are very lengthy, and some of them are actually non-combat at all. It's like a pure deduction scenario as well, which they also have in Mansions of Madness. So I really like how they have made all these things into one box. It's like the best of Fantasy Flight Games and the app. Well, there you have it. Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. Yeah. I love it. I do. Just go buy it. Yeah, okay. Now, to the real review. I've explained during the review what I like and dislike about the game already, but as I said, the monsters might seem generic, and in the beginning it's very hard to determine which monsters are bad, how to deal with them, and maybe you just do all the fighting to get rid of the monsters, and you waste precious time on doing that. The monsters aren't there to be the focus. They're there to hinder your progress, to make sure you don't explore this token here, which you really want to do, or take away this threat token here. They're just there to be in the way, because if you go in here and try to do this, they will attack you for free. You have to deal with them first. And that is kind of the thing that makes this game hard or easy, is that the app has no idea where the heroes are, and they will spawn the monsters seemingly randomly. So if this group here spawns next to Elena, or not Elena, but I can't remember her name, it's a problem, you have to deal with it. But if they spawn over here, they have to move all the way around to get to her. Well, here's Bilbo, by the way. So that was a problem to begin with, and now I don't mind at all. I just have to have a mindset that these are obstacles to deal with, or not. You have to have them in mind. But other than that, they don't really matter. What matters is the journey. Well, journey is in Middle Earth, and you want to explore and find out the story. And as you play, you get a sense of theme. So I don't have a deep understanding of the lore at all, as I said earlier. But when you start playing Bilbo and you choose the Brawler class, which is recommended, you see that, wow, the theme really comes through here. He likes to go alone, because if he's in the vicinity of other heroes, he can't use his abilities to his fullest, because, well, he wants to be sneaky. He wants to not reveal his actions. So if he's alone with monsters around him, he gets more powerful stuff to do. And he can even sneak around the enemies without being spotted if he has the skill prepared. And that is also one of the things that I mentioned earlier, the ownership of the deck and the skills you choose and everything, you know this. So later, Legolas, for instance, he can meet a hill troll like this one. Just look at this. You can kill this in one shot if you just have the skills prepared. First you think like, oh wow, one shot, how, oh yeah, I have the skills, I prepared for this. And just realizing that, you understand that, yeah, this is a fine game. But this deck of cards here, it really makes the game what it is. Because the app does add a lot of randomness. All the maps, not the battle maps, but all the journey maps are randomly generated, and you will never find two identical maps. And so that's a problem. To balance, you can choose whatever cards you want from the experience in the class and the combination, and the app doesn't know how to deal with this, and based on how this is shuffled, the app doesn't know how to balance that either. There's so many factors involved that making this game a balanced game, it's impossible. So sometimes you will go in, especially in the first runs, and you will think the game is impossible. You can't win this game, it's impossible. But I've played this a lot of times now, and I will play on hard mode, and I will think, oh yeah, this is possible. This can do this, and I just know the game. I get a real sense of doing things right in this game, not just randomly taking a skill and stuff like that, but I know what I'm dealing with. And just getting this sense of accomplishment really makes this game fun as well. And yeah, there are so many good things to say about this game. There are some bad things, but in general, they don't really matter, because the whole of the game really shines. So again, if you want this single scenario stuff, this isn't for you. Mansions is a great example of that. You want that. Descent you can go for if you want combat, but again, there you have the campaign in the app, and also without the app, you need the campaign to play it. And here's a campaign to play as well. If you wanted the Descent or this, I couldn't choose. I have both. I would have both. I even have Sword and Sorcery and Descent. And the one thing I'm struggling with is Sword and Sorcery, Descent and Imperial Assault, because they are so alike, except for the theme. I love Star Wars, but I also really like Descent. and I have an affiliation for Terranoth, it seems, because this could have easily been Terranoth, but now with Bilbo and the burglar and I'm really into the Lord of the Rings theme now in this game. It just took me a while, half the campaign I think, and then I really got into the theme again. But yeah, all in all, I really highly recommend this game, and I think you will have a lot of fun, but I think also you will have a lot of struggle winning the game in the beginning, because there are so many things you don't know about, which is a shame. If you only knew what the stats were for these creatures, you have a kind of an inkling how to deal with them, or who to deal with of the groups here. We have the hunters and these marauders and goblins. You don't know which is toughest. There are 3 of them, but is this one worse or easier than these 3? You don't know! Again, all this hidden information which should be there because you are playing Legolas and Aragorn and people that should know about these things. But yeah, I digress. This is really a great game. So 2 rings up, I guess, or something. I will really recommend this game. But of course you need to play campaign. But I don't mind that. Well, I actually do. I have too many campaign games. Ugh, stop with the campaign games already. Don't stop. Okay, thank you so much for watching The Northman. And as always, here in the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. Yeah, see ya.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.